Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's so great to see all of our most favorite educators today joining us from all over the place. So welcome. A quick shout out to Happy Teacher Appreciation Week this week, especially today. You know, recognizing all of the wonderful educators out there working and going above and beyond now, more than ever, in light of what's going on. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. It's, from the bottom of my heart as a parent and from, the whole entire team at Common Sense Education. So we are going to kick things off today. We're so glad, I started to notice we're seeing some, familiar names coming back each week, which is so fantastic to see. So thank you again for joining us. Today, I think you're going to be very excited around the conversation for, K-5 learning, and we have a very, very special guest with us today, Wanda Greenfield, coming to us from North Carolina, correct?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. I knew I was going to get it wrong. I knew I had a 50-50 chance. South
Totally
Carolina. Okay. But yes, Wanda, thank you so much for being here.
I am so excited to be here, Jennifer. I just love doing everything with Common Sense Media, and it just, when I saw that there was an opportunity, I just jumped on it because I'm always happy to be here and working with you and the rest of your team.
Well, that's wonderful and such kind words to hear. But yeah, so to get things started, would you mind just giving, I know you're one of our Common Sense ambassadors, and we thank you for dedicating that time to us, but I just kind of wanted to kick things off as we think about today's conversation. If you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself, and the school that you represent to give folks an idea of what you have going on.
Sure. So I actually, I'm an instructional technology specialist in Spartanburg, South Carolina. For Spartanburg 7, we're broken up into 7 districts. I am one of the elementary specialists, so I'm housed in Jesse Boyd Elementary School. And the district itself, we have Spartanburg, I should say, as I said, is broken into 7 districts, so they're a little bit smaller. But we have over 7,400 students in our district. We have about 10 schools total. My school that I'm at, we're right about 500 students, and we're a K-5 school, so we're an elementary school. We naturally, the few elementaries feed into 3 middle schools, which then feed into 1 high school. We are about 60 to 70% at my school, free and reduced lunch. The district itself has higher numbers than that. We're probably closer to 70 to 75% as a district, if not a little bit higher currently. We are a traditional school, so when we talk about transitioning over to everyone doing distance learning, we are totally a traditional school district. The state does offer virtual school, but our schools are traditional brick and mortar, face-to-face. And I think the one benefit we had in our school district is last year, South Carolina piloted for 3 school districts across the state, e-learning for what would be max of 3 bad weather, inclement weather days, where we would do distance learning. We were one of those districts. So we at least had our heads in the game a little bit already as we tried it last year and ended up with some bad weather and used all of our 3 days. That being said, it's also very different because we are extremely fortunate. Our 2nd graders through 12th graders are 1-to-1. They don't all take their devices home, but they are 1-to-1, so they're very familiar with technology, with MacBooks. Our kindergarten and 1st grade have iPads, so they also are familiar with technology. 4th and up, so 4 through 12 take their devices home every day, so they're even used to working at home. But it was still like a 24-hour, okay, it's coming, Sunday night, yes, no one's coming to school tomorrow, get ready, kind of thing.
Oh my goodness.
So we did it, and that's what happened. We left Friday, and I don't know if you want me to go into this yet. Do you want me to
No,
start
you're
telling you
fine.
this?
I just wanted to kind of set the stage so folks understood kind of your background, where you're
Okay.
coming from, and what your experience has been. And I can tell you, you're not alone. Obviously, you're very fortunate, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
just around access and equity, which we wanted to bring into the conversation today. And so, with that being said, we still have a lot of schools out there that are still trying to get devices to kids, Wi-Fi access. So I'm really excited to talk to you today, about just kind of what are some of the things happening in your school currently to address all of this movement to online. I know we had some side conversations, so I would love for you to share out, first off, let's just, jump right into the most favorite thing we discussed was how the related arts are
Love.
tying to all of this.
I cannot even tell you. So that is probably one of my favorite topics, that just in this whole transition, because getting everyone moved and then figuring out how the students were getting their work, how work might get turned in. But we need to keep connections, not just for the older kids. We have little ones. We have kindergartners that need to still feel connected in their building and to the people in their building. And we all know how important those relationships and those connections are. So what we started doing is, as teachers, we're having their virtual classes, and it varied some by teacher, quite honestly. Some started with once a week, some started twice a week, some started every day. So it was a little bit all over the map. So we kind of came up with a minimum of 2 class meetings a week, minimum, and students through their learning management system were getting their work. But we also realized initially our related arts folks they had their own stuff set up, but they weren't really getting those same connections. So we integrated the two. So now related arts visits, if you want to call it, they get some time on each teacher's virtual class meeting. And that includes our media specialist, PE, music. I go in and do digital citizenship, art, just everybody and anyone that the students would go to. Our guidance counselor who does character ed and talks to them about just how the emotions of dealing with this change of being home versus being in school. So every virtual class now has the classroom teacher, it has a related arts teacher infused in there, and I have to give a quick shout out to the administration in my building, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
They're amazing. So when I say amazing, I mean, I really mean amazing. And they have managed, I think, there is one or the other. We have a principal and one assistant principal. I think at least one of them are on every single class meeting that's happening all week long, which when you add up all the classes, all the teachers, some of the extra, multiple per week, that's a lot. And sometimes they pop in and just say hi to the students, and sometimes they stay and they write the same sentences that the kindergartners are writing. Like sometimes they participate. It's just amazing.
Yeah, the reason I love that so much is because I think it's so important to keep the familiar people in their lives, right? I mean, just seeing your teacher obviously is one thing, but for students to really see that everybody in that building, is caring and worried and wants to be a part of this, everyday learning, no matter what it looks like. And so I really love that, it just feels like a family, a whole school coming together, and nothing, you're still seeing me every day. I'm still giving you fun activities, especially when it comes to the related arts, right? Because, especially K-5 kids, they love art class, they love music class. And I just love that they're not being pushed aside. So thank you so much for sharing that strategy, because I do think it's something that people can consider, as we move through the next 3 weeks.
100%. And I really want to let y'all know that when we first started doing this, I can't even tell you how excited the related arts teachers got. And I don't know, I'm not watching the chat to know if we have any related arts on here, but there was that first feeling of, oh no, what am I doing? And how am I going to do this? I don't have students set up in their learning management system. And then when they were just infused in, and I mean, if I tell you, celebrated guests at these at the class meetings, because like you said, I mean, students love that. And the students love going to their activities, and now their activities are coming to them. And it's just,
Yes.
it's really cute and fun. And I can totally say for hours, they're actually doing an activity. Now it's a 5 or a 10 minute because we can't keep them on forever, but we
Right.
can't keep the students on forever, but they're practicing something, they're doing something that falls in their standards. They're doing something that gets the students engaged and the planning. So, and I'm probably taking us off on another tangent, Jennifer, but what's happening is the collaborative planning is still happening. So for those of you that are out there and trying to figure out how you all still do this, not just as a grade level, now what's happening is Related Arts is saying, okay, I'm coming to your class next Tuesday. I might be the art teacher. I'm coming to your class next Tuesday. Here's my standards I still need to cover with your students. What are you working on? What's your matrix look like? And putting lessons together. So it's really accomplishing a lot, and ultimately not only making the students so happy and keeping those connections, like you said, with familiar faces, but it's also reducing some stress on the classroom teacher. Because we've all been reading the articles about Zoom meetings and virtual meetings, and we know it's so different than being with students.
For
And
sure. Yes,
right, and
absolutely.
it is, and
Um,
that Zoom fatigue, I think they're calling it now.
it's true. It's
Right?
real. It's
It's
real. And
very real. It's very real. And just the fact that you have to like see yourself for a whole
I
hour.
know, I
Okay.
know, I
But
know. Yeah.
now so many of the classroom teachers said now there's like, it's like a little element of co-teach, and they have someone else with them, and they kind of can bounce back and forth a little bit, and they don't feel like that whole 45 minutes or an hour at a clip is on their shoulders to navigate.
Right, exactly. And you mentioned matrix, and we talked a lot about this too, because something that stood out to me was, student voice and student choice, which allows for that feeling of less stress too on the student, the teacher, and the parent, because I feel like everyone's doing their part. And so if you could just explain to us how you set up I think you had a couple, like a tic-tac-toe and
Right. Choice
where just
board.
ideas, yeah, and then they could pull out
Yes.
ideas. So I'd love for you to share that. And I do think Vicki, our moderator, posted the slides in the chat.
Great. And I just
Yeah.
actually did like a screenshot of one or two, but
Yeah,
I
that's
can
okay.
always
Just so
get
we have
you
an
more.
example. Yeah, just
Right.
kind
I
of
can always get
explain
more.
like how it came about and how it's being used.
So it came about because our principal, actually, I believe she had either seen it or heard of it from another area and thought it was a great idea and brought it to the district level. And the district liked it. And so the very first matrix, each school was assigned a grade level. And we just did a matrix for a 2-week period. And we said we wanted to make sure our core courses were in there, and then some related arts and some SEL, social emotional learning, because we need to take care of our kids and we need to take care of everybody. And what happened was it was originally developed where you had choices. You had 10 days worth of math, 10 days worth of ELA, 10 days worth of social studies, science, SEL, related arts. And in that 10-day period, you would just ask to complete it. But on each day, the students with their parents or the student alone could pick any activity, one from every column. So it gave them a lot of options. And it also we were very specific, because although we have devices that go home, not every one of our students has internet in their homes. I know we've mentioned, and a lot of these discussions have talked about how districts are supplying internet. We've done the same thing. Sorry about that, you get my phone. We put internet on our school buses, and so there's a route that they go and they sit for 2 hours at a time, because they're also delivering meals. But not everyone could get there. It didn't work for everybody. So the matrix, all of our activities that were required had a connected component or an offline component. So you could choose how you wanted to do it, and you could choose which activities. And I know I didn't get into the PowerPoint student testimonials, but I have to tell you, so many students I've been hearing from have said how they just loved being able to pick. They want choice. They want to say, I want to do it this way, and I'm going to do this one. Because all of a sudden, they were doing the work, and it was assigned, but there wasn't that same element of, I have to do it this way, and I have to do it right now. Plus the fact they were able to look at the matrix, and we tried to bring in a lot of stuff that had to do with going outside, being with your family. We adapted, you were measuring things in your room, you were measuring your driveway, like we were doing things that had to do with what they had in front of them, not what we normally have in a classroom or school building. And so if it was beautiful and sunny out, they could choose to do the outside stuff. They didn't have to sit at a table inside because they were doing their work.
Right. And I do love the idea of these strategies built around just life skills, like having those choice boards, because math is going to look a little different, obviously than sitting in the classroom learning math. Same with just getting up and going outside and relating it to real life. As a mom, we've been doing a lot of that. Get up, move, go. And you talked about that too. Like take what you're already doing with your standards or what you were doing with your standards and how, build that over different options and movement. So it doesn't feel like a sit and get or, do these 5 handouts and post them. You want to keep it energized and keep the learning kind of fun. Exactly. And I know it's really difficult to get kids to come to learn, but so I loved, that idea around it. And then
also, I'm sorry, Jennifer.
No, go ahead.
It also brought, so all the schools, all the elementary schools, middle schools, we all then were working off of the same matrix. So it kind of leveled the playing field also in the district. We were all doing the same. Now, schools were allowed to, or individual teachers were allowed to augment. So if there was something else their class was working on, they could offer that as either an additional assignment or an additional optional assignment to keep something going. For instance, in my building, we've got 4th and 5th grade, in addition to the matrix, they're doing virtual book clubs and reading some novels together, which is fabulous, and they're loving it. So the book club meets completely separate from their assigned class meeting time because they meet to have their discussion about the novels they're reading.
Virtual, yes. I'm learning, or I'm seeing a lot of different virtual club-like things, right? Like, whether it's book club or art club or, just any type of hobby, right? Yes. Just getting the kids together virtually to still have that going. So yeah, that's amazing. And it's nice to see the repetition happening. So it means something's working if people keep popping them up. And, it's never, it's a good thing to keep hearing the same strategies, obviously.
Right.
Good. Well, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything around the reflection piece or I know you mentioned, we talked about, sorry, my brain, voice where reflection and listening is occurring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't following you for a minute.
That's okay. I was having a brain moment.
And I was with you on that one.
Yeah.
So so as far as that, we've been doing our matrices at 2-week intervals because there has been so much, and I'm not going to call it learn as you go, I'm going to call it reflection and really discussing what's been happening and what's been the feedback from the students, really large, what's been the feedback from the parents. We've done multiple surveys to families. What's been the feedback from families. We are consistently adapting to accommodate because this is uncharted waters for everyone. This is not you signed your child up or any of the children signed up for a distance learning class, an online class. No one had this planned. No one thought this is how we were going to go. And so we've really been trying to listen and to hear what the students are saying, to hear what the families are saying, and quite honestly, to hear what teachers and employees, because probably most people on this have children of their own at home, just like you're working at home with your little ones, trying to be teacher, mom, and employee. So it's hard on everybody. So we have adapted, and I'll be honest, we came out super strong, rigor through the roof, week 1, and then we were like, oh, I think we're blowing everyone away a little bit. We need to reel it in some, and we did that. And I feel like we've gotten to a point, which is really when the matrix came out, and we got to a point where we're meeting standards, we're hitting things that we're taught, we're teaching some new, we're giving choice, we're listening to the students and parents. And the first time the matrix came out and lessons had been adapted a lot more to deal with, go outside, do this with your family, this is what you have in the house. teachers started getting emails over and over. One parent actually on the first day of that said, "This has been the best day since we've been home." Like exactly that, like feeling of, okay, we're hitting the right stride, I guess. And so we've been doing, so when the second matrix came out, it was teachers were asked for input I guess it was like on Wednesday for the matrix to come out on Friday. Shared input, what are you hearing, what are you seeing, what are your families saying, etc. And that helped to form the next one. And then we've done it again for the next. And we're in the process of doing potentially our last one now is being put together. And we keep switching around who works on them in the district, etc. So it's really, everyone's getting their input, everyone's getting the opportunity. A little augmentation gives individual teachers a lot more voice and connection with their students. Students get to choose, the parents are calmer. It's not perfect, but we're trying.
Work in progress, which is everybody. And I love the idea. I think we all came out of the out of the gates being reactive, right? And I don't think you're alone. I think everybody was just like, get up and running, keep everything going, and it wasn't working. So I love that you took, you and your district took a step back. And I think we all had at one point to be more proactive. Take a step back, breathe, let's reach out to family, students, what's working, what's not, and then just keeping it a work in progress and improving every day. And that's all we can do at this point. And so kudos to you and your team for offering such great resources today. As we kind of wrap things up, maybe I could just put you on the spot a little bit. What would be your 3 big takeaways? Like, what are 3 things you want teachers to leave with?
Number 1, I want you to remember that, I want everyone to remember these are uncharted waters. So kind of whatever you're doing, and just pat yourself on the back for that and give yourself a break. Take a deep breath and give yourself a break. Number 2 is remember we're still working on basic needs being met for our students. So understand that they're not just as in a regular classroom, they're not going to learn if theirs aren't met. And if your tank is empty, it's going to be hard for you to keep them and your family going. I would say continue to give lots of choice if you can, and even take some of what we're learning now when you do get back in brick and mortar and apply it, because I think it's going to make a huge difference in even how classrooms run. Can I have 2 more? I know.
Absolutely, yes. If they're good, yes.
On your virtual meetings, something that I think is so important that I didn't get to mention, so it's a brand new thought for a takeaway, is remember, it's still kind of your classroom. It actually is. So I've noticed that the classrooms that run, like we're an IB school, so we have essential agreements in our building. The virtual meetings have essential agreements now, and they just run really smooth compared to just everyone's on. So remember, you have policies and procedures, and it's okay to transition those to online.
Right.
And then just in the back of your mind, just keep responding to what you're hearing and what works for you, because you know what, you really know what's best for you and your students, and go with it. Like, go with your gut, just go with your gut. And we're all have worry about what's coming, and know that things will probably not look the same next year. There'll be ups and downs, I think, for the world next year. But if you are true to what you know, I feel confident you're gonna blow it away for your students anyway.
That's really good advice. Very inspiring. It's so true.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe it. I really do. I think teachers go into this for a reason. You've got the heart and the soul for this. And this was kind of a little bit of okay, we don't have the testing at the end of the year. Do what you know best. Teach the way you know how,
Exactly. Yeah. Put your skills to the test, which I'm sure is all going better than we all think or give ourselves credit for. So yes, I couldn't agree more. So as we kind of wrap up, do we have any questions from the Q&A or the chat that came in that we didn't get a chance to address?
Hey, Jennifer, no questions in the Q&A, but I think some of the folks are just asking if you can clarify the difference between matrix or choice boards, or if they're the same. You can just kind of clarify.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always think the choice boards are a little bit more like a tic-tac-toe, where you either complete a whole column, complete a whole line. Our matrix was everything does need to get completed. You have to finish it all. And we even, as we came out with smaller, like week-long matrices, you had, I guess, less choice throughout the week. But, and we then even transitioned some to like Monday's lessons, Tuesday's lessons, but within that, you had a couple of options. So we have, it's a work in progress that keeps getting adapted. But I'm going to say that I would call the choice board and the tic-tac-toe board a little more really kind of basically the same, just by different names.
All right, good. Well, thank you so much, Wanda, for your time this week. I know you're extremely busy, but we really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us and share all of the good stuff that you're doing and, you know, with your families and your students that you're serving. Be sure, guys, everybody that's on the chat, or if you have friends that missed it, we will be posting this recording on our YouTube channel at Common Sense Education. And this will be posted probably later in the week or beginning of next week. And we will also be sure to include all of the resources that Wanda had mentioned or discussed. So the matrix will be included in that as well. And so thank you again to everyone who has joined us. And we hope to see you all on Friday for our next one.
Thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.